Mm-hmm.
I want it to last forever.
Yeah.
But that is, that's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Idealistic.
Mm-hmm.
And for the record, where's the camera at? It's not terrible. It's not. I don't know these horror stories that people tell you. It's not that bad.
Welcome to another edition of AotB Sessions. Today, we are joined by two special guests. We have Bennett Rust and we have the returning CJ. How's it going, guys?
How's it going, man?
Hey.
It's interesting that we haven't seen each other in forever, and literally we just saw each other yesterday. It went from months and years apart from each other, and now back to back. Like,
I'm just gonna get sick of each other.
Yeah, like we can never have anything in the middle. It's just like either 100% or 0, and then
feast or famine, as they say.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Welcome to the show. I'm really happy you guys made the time to head out here. I know we're in the middle of nowhere too, so I hope like those trees didn't throw you off on like how they get here very much.
No, it's beautiful. I mean, I'm born and raised out here, so
yeah,
it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, where were you? I don't even think I asked you that the last time that we were.
San Francisco, man.
Oh, okay.
Born and raised in San Francisco, man. UCSF, I believe.
Okay.
Or maybe St. Luke's. I can't remember.
Yeah. What about yourself, Bennett? Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Portland, Oregon,
Uh-huh.
and then lived in a little town called Battleground, Washington.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds
so
really
cool,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
No wonder. Damn.
Named for a battle that never took place.
Ah.
Yeah, that was great. And I moved down here for college. I went to California College of the Arts in Oakland.
Mhm.
The Oakland campus is gone at this point,
Mhm.
or is about to be closed. They're moving everything to SF. But, yeah.
Yeah, it feels. I remember people talking about that, and yeah, it's now I don't know of that many. I mean, there's still art schools, but it doesn't have the same kind of lore that it used to have like 10, 20 years ago. Like now, it's kind of unheard of.
Yeah, I'm totally ignorant to all that stuff.
Yeah.
To, like the art schools and all that. I remember growing up and just seeing the Academy of Art stuff all over.
Oh yeah.
Just over time, as if they just took over the entire city.
Oh yeah. Like there's a shuttle for everything if you had to go somewhere else, and yeah, there's
seeing all those armored cars just
yeah
driving up and down. Yeah, and no, man, that would have been the other choice had I not gotten into CCA. Would have been Academy of Art, but glad I went to CCA.
Yeah. And you majored in animation, I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How was that? Like did you pick out that school specifically for their animation program, or were you looking at different options at that point?
I think I was looking at. I originally wanted to do illustration, and I remember my art teacher was like, I also had wanted to be in California.
Yeah.
And my art teacher was like, well, there's this art school down in Oakland. You should check it out. And I did the pre-college program, fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And really, really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Took out an insane amount of debt to do it. And now I'm here.
Yeah. Is it still are you debt free now, or are you still?
No.
Oh yeah.
No, still paying it off.
Yeah.
Come on, Biden.
It's like, what's so close?
Just do it, man. For the love of God. You know?
That's cool. Yeah, I was wondering because we've had a couple people before, but I think you're probably one of the first few that actually went into a college specifically to major in animation. Because I've met other people who've done illustration or some other form, but like traditional animation, like I only took one class when I was in art school, and I was like, okay, this is amazing. Whoever does this as like their full thing must like really, really love to do animation from time to time.
Yeah, I remember my first animation was on index cards, and it was on a down shooter. And it was all pen, and it was a sword turning into a purse with like coins dropping into it. Took me 3 hours to do it, and it's all straight ahead. So it's like even spacing. There's there's nothing dynamic to it. It's just a thing morphing into another thing.
Yeah.
And I remember like once I had downshot it, like watching it back over and over again. I watched it back and realized that I had spent 4 hours watching it over and over and over again. There's just something really nice about like you make something, you bring it to life, and you get to see it. It's like there's just something really exhilarating about the art process in that way.
Yeah.
That like now there's just this thing that exists because of you.
Yeah.
That's what I really love about animation in particular.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where, because you've done a little bit of animation here in there as well, right?
No, nothing. I mean, I could make things slide from back then, but what Bennett does is completely that guy. I mean, the beauty of what I envy about animators, man, is like you said, like you just described something magical. It's crazy, right? Like something that morphs and changes into anything, and that's kind of like what I think animators can do, man. It's just bananas to me.
Yeah. How did you go about that? Was it more, did you start doing animations before you started going to college on your own where you learned everything, or did you learn everything at the school itself?
I learned everything there. In my high school, we didn't have like the resources for that. We had 3D animation.
Yeah.
And I remember that was like, a lot of that was like, here's this model of a plane that you are going to, that you render from the side or the front. I could never wrap my head around like the digital space in that regard.
Yeah.
Which is what I really appreciate about your work, is that like you can think of it very spatially, where I have trouble wrapping my head around like actually manipulating a 3D space in that respect.
Yeah.
So like seeing all the work that you've done lately, how there's just like this entire world that's built, I feel like is such a special thing.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, dude, like, but to me, like, the best animators are the 2D animators, man. And then they incorporate the 2D to the 3D.
It's the original medium.
I mean, you could tell, I don't know, like now things are probably a little bit better, but early on, I could always tell, like, oh, this guy is not a 2D animator, is not familiar with 2D animation.
Yeah.
Because the 3D stuff can tend to look a little stiff early on, right? But when my buddy, who was a 2D guy, did 3D, even on a very basic level, it felt way better, man. I was like, damn. I was like, look at that looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's because he understood 2D animation. I mean, like, there's just something to that.
Yeah.
I don't think you could avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah, because even before we started recording, we were watching old episodes of Simpsons, and that's when they were still traditional, just hand-drawn animations, and even they started moving into more, I don't know if they're in 3D like South Park, but they've moved into the digital space now as well. But just kind of going back to those origins of just 2D animation, that if you have a good grasp on that, you can pretty much do anything at that point,
South Park is 3D now?
Well, from what I remember, because they did a documentary where they showed them moving all their assets into like Maya at the time. I would imagine now that they probably went into something similar to like Unity or something. But back then they had moved, because I guess Maya at the time had given them access to do the rigging just to make the animations quicker and everything.
I guess, it was. It's a limited. They're not known for their animations. Right. Like, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, they're more known for like being as prompt as possible with deadline delivery. So like, when some like a current event happens, they instantly have something 6 days later that pokes fun at it. Which I think like being timely in that way is its own talent, I guess. But you end up sacrificing a little bit of like the quality of the artwork that you're making in order to do that.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of, we were just talking about The Simpsons. what were some of your influences growing up as a kid? What made you kind of decide to go into the art space? But I guess in your case, like in the animation route as a kid.
Well, funny enough, I mean, The Simpsons. I remember like watching all the DVDs with the commentary, just binging it and drawing in a sketch pad, like recreating Homer or Bart or whatever.
Yeah.
Calvin and Hobbes is probably another one. Just like the way that guy, Bill, like uses, the space to like make these excellent, beautiful compositions. And they're Sunday funnies, essentially.
Yeah.
There's something about like that kind of freedom of expression, to be able to step outside of like 4 panels. He's not just doing 4 panels. He's like has negative space with panels, even if it's as simple as like a like one joke gag or whatever.
Yeah.
And then his Sunday stuff is just like phenomenal. It's like really referencing like old, like comics from like the 1910s. I can't remember the specific one that he had an influence from. It was like some cat-based one. I can't remember, but yeah, that stuff like really like cartoons can be art essentially.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I've honestly felt entirely spoiled being on this team. This is my first like venture into like the industry, more or less, and hearing all of the horror stories of like everybody else on the team, I'm like, wow, I'm glad that this team is not like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how long it goes. I want it to last forever.
Yeah.
But that is, it's wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Idealistic.
And for the record, where's the camera at? It's not terrible. It's not. I don't know these horror stories that people tell you. It's not that bad. There are terrible places, but there are great places too. But I know because sometimes I'm guilty of. Saying, but
yeah.
But anything that requires someone having to make money, you're going to find the same problems, right? Like
it's always that thing too, of just like once it's either your finances or someone else's, then that's where it's like
I will say this about the creative field, which the caveat of that is that it's not necessarily a 9 to 5 or a 9 to 10 or whatever. It's something that you like right now. Like your weekends, as much as I don't want to think about work, you're thinking about work. It's something that you just can't turn off. That's I don't know if people realize that, or if they, it's just difficult to shut off.
Well, that's the thing too. It's like what Bennett was just saying earlier, like when you're just taking like a stroll or just walking around the neighborhood on like a nice day, anything could really just be inspiration. Where like if you just see a random squirrel, but all of a sudden you see how the squirrel moves, and you're like, oh, maybe that's how I'll animate this thing or whatever,
And that's wonderful and awful at the same time. It's like, God damn, I can't enjoy a fucking squirrel without having to work.
Look at the tail; it just did the perfect.
I think, right? Don't you find it? Like, this is why I don't like going to movies with family and stuff. And like, I need to go alone because I'm like, admittingly, I am the jerk. And so I remove myself from the equation because I don't want to ruin their experience. People like things and I'm like, this is crap.
Yeah.
Like, look at that awful lighting, or look at that character, just blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, I realize that I'm everything I'm consuming, I'm still working. I don't think I can enjoy anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guilty of that more recently in the last few years with like all the Fast and Furious movies. It just shocks me on like how much money and how many people go watch it. But at the end of the day, like if there are people who genuinely like it and are entertained and having a good time, who am I to be there to spoil everything that they're enjoying?
Yeah, no. I mean, there's like with me, there's 2 people. There's CJ, the guy that likes things and that loves Hunter x Hunter, and I judge everything on that bar of like, well, if it's not as good as Hunter x Hunter, it's crap.
Yeah.
But then there's the businessman in me that I understand. Where like I have to look at something that I don't like, but I have to understand why it's working. Not to say that I don't like Fast and Furious, but let's say I go in there and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't have that poor attitude towards things.
Yeah.
That's another. I would suggest artists open up to things that they think are terrible or in bad taste.
Yeah.
If you want to work.
Yeah. Be a student of the world.
Yeah.
Is a thing.
Yeah. No, it is. As I know that might sound corny, but you gotta love the business to a certain point, right? Like, okay, this is the entertainment business. You need to figure out why it's business.
Yeah.
And save all the artistic stuff for your own personal projects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because even while we were waiting for you to show up, Ben and I were kind of talking about that briefly. And we were saying that sometimes you kind of have to do that where as much as you enjoy the stuff that you grew up with and were influenced by, you kind of have to, I think the quote is like taking the room temperature of just like what's around you, just to see like what others enjoy and like what's in now to maybe modernize yourself a little bit, but still stay true to like what you enjoy doing at that point. So,
either you understand that that's something you really don't want to do. Like if Drake came to me and said, I want you to make my album, be like, Drake, I don't know anything about you. And I really don't like your music and stuff. Or I could be like, well, let me research and check out your music and stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, Drake, if you're watching,
he's always available.
Always watching.
Which I would say Drake and your artwork would be a dope
I don't know about that.
it would be a dope cover and like an even better music video.
You think so?
Yeah.
How does it feel to know you've never been the one? You go from heart to heart.
Many of the studio items are made from local artists. Learn more about each artist in the episode description. Thanks again, and let's jump back into the episode.
I guess kind of touching on that from the stuff that I know, like you're kind of early on with your career in animation, but are there any projects that you kind of have in the back of your head that you want to like touch on? Maybe not now, but just like in the future that would be like if you ever wanted to work on like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show or something like that, or any personal project that you wanted to.
It might be secret too, because artists like keeping secrets.
That's true.
I don't. I love to blab. I'm such a blabbermouth.
Good to know. Not telling you anything anymore.
Yeah, do not keep your secrets with me. I mean, I think the ultimate goal for me is just to. I would like to get back to making sad films. I love making small, like 2 to 3 minute, intimate sort of, short films. That's essentially how I got my job at Osmo.
Which one did you make for that?
It's called Stump. It's about a kid that gets eaten by a stump in the middle of the woods. It's stuff like that. That's like sort of morbid, sort of sad, but also kind of like has a punchline to it, more or less. Exactly. There you go. I like embracing sad. I like being sad. It's fun, or it's it's something that's a little therapeutic at times. But yeah, I have a couple of ideas. A lot of it is still kind of in very, very early stages, essentially just writing in a notes app, these are the major themes and major ideas of it. I've been trying to do more of these like ghosty animations, little loops. I actually just had another idea for like one that's a little bit more long, like a 40-second to a minute thing. That just came to me because of making music. So that's kind of where I'm at with like projects outside of work. And then I'm doing like various freelance stuff. I like helping people. That's another part of it too, is just like, if you want an animation, I will always want to do that.
Hints and points. This amazing animation that you're just seeing loop in the background. That just speaks exactly to what you were just saying. So there you go.
You're too kind.
Where I am the complete opposite of that, and I despise doing things for people. Like you, not that I would despise, but I know that I'm supposed to do something for you as well. But it's like I'm the complete opposite, where I'm like, I cannot take another job right now. Even when I'm not doing my personal projects, I'm very, very careful about taking other stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've done it before, and I'm like, oh no, forget it. And a lot of it is my own fault, because nothing's an easy task for me. The way everything's a monument.
Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, this is, but I just asked you to draw me a little happy face. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's stressful. For me, that's how I treat everything. So it's more of my attitude towards something, right?
Yeah.
But I do not enjoy doing anything for anyone else.
I probably have not reached that nexus yet. It's coming.
Once you get these bags in your ass, maybe you'll get there. I don't know. You're a good dude though. But when I was younger, I would absolutely. I'd be like, oh yeah, man. But I also found that me personally, that the stuff that I would do, it just wouldn't come out right, because it's just not enough time in the day. It's like the Luke stuff with so many things wrong with it that's not passable, but doesn't matter. Because it's mine. I'm like, here, my main goal is just to finish. Right. But when you're doing it for something else, it has to be according to their vision or whatever, right? Yeah. Basically, you're opening yourself up to feedback. Me don't like your feedback. Me hates extra feedback.
Before I forget, because it was on the tip of my tongue, the two of you guys kind of mentioned something similar. When you are kind of brainstorming stuff for yourself that you want to work on, do you just make like a mental note of it, or do you kind of like write it down somewhere just so like, like, okay, I do want to work on this like later on, or like how Bennett was saying, like prioritizing like which one you want to work on next, kind of a thing?
I buy a notebook for every project that comes to my mind, even if it's just a sentence. All right. So I just have like notebooks that are the moleskin ones, tiny ones.
Oh, nice.
Carry around. And each one is dedicated to a thought or something that I'm thinking, planning out. I like to keep them separate, because I fill them up. And I don't want them to be mixed up. So, because I used to just have a notebook with all random ideas written, but I'm like,
just trying to find everything.
I don't like buying fancy things, but I'll buy things like that will help me for my project. So that's what I like to do.
The Notes app is my favorite thing in the world.
Oh, okay.
I like to just open up a new blank note and just write down whatever the thing that is, in my head. I think the problem is like actually executing on it afterwards. It's like the idea is there. You just have to figure out like, how does that come to fruition? It can't just like live in that note. I think that's the rub at times.
Interesting. I wonder, so I totally agree with you, man. And I think that's why I like the tangibleness of the notebook. I don't know why. Or it could just be because I'm old and I like notebooks, but something about that makes me feel more pressure. And I see it all the time. When I tried doing it digitally, planning my stuff out, and it doesn't work for me. I always have to have the legit art board, not just Pinterest. It has to be everything tangible. I just feel like it has to stare at me constantly, be like, dude. It's time. I'm just here waiting.
I should try that. I just give that a shot. I feel like it.
See if it makes a difference. I don't know. Maybe it will. I'm not sure. Everyone's different, right? I know plenty of people that use nothing but digital, and it works for me. But for me, I just need that, and it becomes so precious too. I'm always like, I freaked out once because I went to an Airbnb and I thought I left my notebook. I was like, no, oh my thoughts and dreams. It's my diary. It's like in the wrong hands.
Like the brain is somewhere else, and you need to like pick that up.
And it in some way, at least for me, gives it that value. Man, I'm like, oh, this is actually here now.
Plus, I've heard it's just it's also a thing with like muscle memory, and also just you're able to remember things a lot more when it's like physically like written down or drawn on. Even my sister now was doing the same thing where she was doing more of like a digital app with kind of her programming with everything, or just keeping her schedule. And now she's just bought a physical like whiteboard, and every week she just like clears it out and just writes everything, like what meals she's going to prep for the week or whatever. And it's just made it 10 times easier for her, because she has to physically write it. So at that point she'll know like, oh, Wednesday I need to do this, blah blah blah. And like sometimes she doesn't even look at the calendar anymore, because now since she wrote it down, she knew like exactly what she needs to do at that point. So yeah, I think that's also an advantage for physical media.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's up to the individual, right? Like Bennett said, he's going to try it and see if it makes a difference. So there you go, kids.
Yeah, there you go.
Try it if you're feeling like you're stuck.
Yeah,
try anything. Can you edit this out? Okay, sorry. I'm chewing gum. Is that messing up, you think?
Don't worry. Okay. We have all the technology in post edit.
So you just mute out the cud that I'm chewing a cow?
We have like 15 interns behind this curtain that they'll just take care of everything.
Just make sure when the end of you're not going to hear this.
Yeah.
Instead of him talking. All right.
Actually, Nando's going to isolate just the chewing. It'll just be an ASMR video at this point.
Thank you.
Everything else,
no other advice that you gave out will come out. It's just the chew.
Gum chew. There'd be some advice: don't chew gum during an interview.
Yeah.
I failed.
Completely fine. Before we start wrapping up, I was going to say, with every, I've asked you this before, but we can definitely come back around, since I know you worked on more projects since then. For you, Bennett, what would you say are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on personally or collaboratively over the last couple of years?
That's a good question. I think this one in particular, doing stuff for Art of the Bay has been really fun. It's very I like the dynamic that is built between quote unquote client and freelancer or whatever. It really is that's something that I struggled with very early on, out of school, is really being able to show up and communicate with the person that is asking for the art. I always felt that if I couldn't deliver on something, I should just retreat into the recesses and not speak to them, and that's bad. That's a bad thing to do. So really learning how to develop that sort of communication with somebody else, and to be able to really sort of plan everything out and to develop that kind of relationship. I think it's yes, they're asking something very specific of you, but it's also a chance to interact with somebody that you normally wouldn't interact with,
right,
and really get a sense of what their process is like, and that ultimately people just want to make cool stuff. It's not necessarily anything. I've had some weird stuff in the past with responding to Craigslist ads for doing illustrations for $500 or something like that, and the person is constantly talking your ear off. You can't get a word in edgewise. That never feels good. But to be able to know that the person that's asking for your expertise, essentially, that they value your opinion as an artist, I think that's always a good sign. So this project we've been working on has been really wonderful in that regard. And then the Osmo stuff has been just fantastic. Every day I get to see some awesome work from CJ, some great work from Jason and Mary, and Flo as well.
Oh, Flo,
It's just such a revelation to be oh wow, I get better because I'm near all of these wonderful, excellent people. I always feel the lowest of everybody, and so it's always nice to just sort of be in the vicinity of everybody else, and really learn everything.
I think you touched on something that I don't know if I talked to you about it before, but it's the same thing when I started at Sony and then Zynga. I think it took me until like halfway through my tenure at Zynga to realize to really just take advantage of the resources around you. Like how Bennett just said, that you're around all these really talented people who are really good at their specific craft, whether it be artists or PMs or whoever. They're all there for like that specific role. So that must mean that they've reached like a certain status of like expertise in that area. That if you kind of just, I mean, in some cases, in some cases not so much, but when you find the right ones, you can kind of like really take advantage of it. And if you form like a good relationship with them, like you guys, that you can go up to that person and ask them for feedback on an area that you're not as familiar with or want to get some information from. And that's a little bit better than kind of being kind of cold turkey where like you have to go to seminars or other these things that are not that personal touch. Compared to like, if you can just walk up to Bennett or CJ in this scenario and just be like, hey, how do you go about doing this, blah, blah, blah. That there's that form of relationship that I think is very special at that point. You know?
No, definitely, man. I think it's up to you as an individual to find someone who you like in there, that you like their work or their work ethic or whatever, and just ask a bunch of questions, you know, whatever you want to be. Like, if you want to be you see someone that's a jerk and you want to be the best jerk, ask that person, how do you practice being a jerk? Yeah. Or the opposite, if you just be a good artist. Whatever your goal is. Yeah. You know, the company, man, that's great advice, man. Just, pick people's brains to figure out what it is you want to be.
Yeah.
Or the direction, the path that you want to take. Yeah. It's all there. Every company will have that. Doesn't matter. Yeah. You know?
How about on your end with the newer stuff that you've been working on? Has that kind of ranked up a little bit more with the recent Star Wars stuff that you've been working on?
I mean, I hate everything that I do. I'm just like, God, I always feel embarrassed when I post my stuff, but I do enjoy the idea. I know my ideas are sound. And so I 100% am confident in the world that I build and stuff like that, but the art's not so much and all that. Mm-hmm. But definitely, I back the creative content, so to speak. You know. But as for like favorite, is that what you're asking too? Which is your favorite?
Well, I mean, project? Because I know we talked about it before, but I guess with the stuff that you've been working on more recently, how does that now rank to the stuff that you've done before? Like, because I know like they're all amazing things, but I'm just curious. Like now,
now it's like I said, I'm a deadbeat dad. When it comes to once like I'm done with it, I'm done with it, and I'm nearing the end of these, and I'm just like, I just want to get it out of the way now. Yeah. Move on to the next one. You know.
Well, let me reword it in your scenario. Now that you are kind of working on this stuff, are you able to use stuff that you learned from the other ones, like how you just mentioned, where I didn't think about doing that for these. Now I can actually work and implement those within.
Yes. With each one of these laborious projects, man, I'm learning a lot, and I think this last set that I've done, the Luke and Big stuff, is stronger than the Star Wars 77 stuff, for sure, in different ways. Yeah. And so now the next project that I'm starting to see that I'm like, oh, cool. I'm struggling less in one area.
Right.
You know, I'm still struggling in others, but I'm like, okay, I've gone through the gauntlet with the other ones. Yeah. And I'm learning easier ways or things to think about with a new one, you know? Yeah. It is hard. I do recommend every artist should try to take a project on their own, regardless, and just do it. Yeah. Plan it out. Because you'll come out learning, and that's the whole point. The goal of your of this project is to finish. Yeah. To get to point A to point B, hella high water, come what may. It may not look like what you envisioned, but you're gonna be done, and you're gonna learn, man. There's no way you're not gonna learn. You'll learn something. Yeah. You know?
What's the saying? Like the last 10% is always the most difficult, or something like that.
Is it?
When it comes to like finishing a project is always. I know that I struggle with finishing a project.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing, and I never realized that. My buddy Ray Cosico, who happens to be the awesome animator that I was mentioning earlier, he's the one who, because I've always been the weakest artist everywhere I go. I'm not bottom artist, but Ray told me once that I finish, because my stuff was finished. Like I wouldn't just have pencil sketches.
Yeah.
They would be just terrible color dodged paintings I would do in Photoshop when I was younger, but they would be done. He actually put that seed in my head. I was like, well, it's important to finish. Yeah. He was awesome. But he told me that he had difficulty finishing stuff. I'm like, oh shit. And so I kind of took that. I'm like, all right, at least I'll get that win.
Right.
It's done.
Yeah.
It's a particular intangible skill, I think, that's really important, particularly for art making. Yeah. I mean, to be able to make something of fidelity and to do it pretty consistently.
Yeah.
To decide.
Because I'm
the terrible decider.
And committing to it. Yeah. It's always the commitment part that's, Two
of the things that I am the worst at. Like, I cannot order a pizza to save my damn life without it being some agonizing trial.
It was funny yesterday. We were trying to decide on what to eat yesterday, like super late. It was like close to midnight or something. So we had Mary, and she was trying to like pick out everything. But then she was kind of saying something similar, that she had to literally look throughout everything that's available in order to finally pull the trigger and make a decision on like what to order. Yeah. So
we're there, but when it comes to like art and stuff, I make decisions.
Yeah.
But everything else in life is forget it. I'm like, what should I do? Grape soda or orange? I don't know.
Totally get it.
Did I just ramble? Did I just go off on a tangent?
No. You gave me the best transition to kind of put us to a close, because now I'm just like, all right, do I keep this going for 2 more hours, or should I just cut it off right here and make the most out of it? But yeah, I just want to thank you guys once again for taking the time to do this. This obviously we'll probably do it again whenever Bennett's in the area next time. I know, yeah, that's gonna be super exciting, and you'll get to explore the world, the art community over there, because I know it's vastly different over there.
Dude, I think you're gonna blow up even more out there.
Oh no,
no, it's a good thing, man.
Yeah. Before we head out, did you have any shout outs or plugs that you want to give out?
Just really thankful for the team at Osmo. MathBox is great. Love MathBox. Everybody on the team is just so amazing. And I'm really appreciative that they gave me the chance. Yeah. It's kind of a cold call. Didn't know anybody going into it, and like
that's crazy. I thought you knew someone.
No, I essentially just applied. Of the many other applications that I did.
I had no idea. When I saw his work and when I met him, I thought he was like a seasoned guy already. It's funny. Mary told me that he's fresh out of school. I'm like, what? Oh man!
Just lots of years of failing, lots and lots of failure, and then everything clicked at once. And I'm really appreciative that like everybody took a chance on me not having any sort of like industry experience, and it's worked out. Yeah. So shout out to Mary, CJ, Indo.
You're already there. Shout out to you for accepting me.
Nice. Anyone on your end before we head out?
I hate everybody, man. You hear me? I hate you all. No, I'm just kidding.
That's going to be literally on the graphic. I hate you all.
No, man, shout out to you, man. Congratulations on this, man. This is awesome. And thank you for having us on.
Thanks so much.
It's really cool, dude.
I figured like we would either depress the world or we would make them happy, and I think we did both. I think we did both at the same time.
We contain multitudes.
Yeah, exactly. What you don't want to do is bore them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Indifference is the worst thing out there. If they hate me or love me, great.
Yeah.
Especially if they hate me. But just want to make sure that this goes into how I develop things too. I have OCD. I can't let go of things. I'm like,
Well, it's good, and I think that's the whole point. Is that at least you when you have that thought, it's good that you express it. Well, what Bennett was saying earlier, that in some cases, like if you're working with people and then if you're a little timid that you don't bring up your point of view or your suggestions, then putting that in the back burner is not good for you or for them. It's good to at least just speak your mind at that point. Yeah.
I have enough self-hatred and self-loathing that my cup runneth over.
Well, I mean, I'm always like, every time we're in meetings and I feel like I am constantly saying something that I put my foot in my mouth with. And like 5 or 6 hours later, I'm just like laying there going, shit.
Yeah.
How could you possibly feel that way when I'm in the meeting? You're like, well, at least I'm not CJ. Well, I'm there to help everybody, like by putting my foot, both feet in my mouth.
Yeah.
I think it's the fact that you make everybody laugh. I think it's wonderful. I love it. It's my awkwardness that I feel like it just completely kills it.
You're a delight, sir.
And I think that's the best way to end it right there. As an editor, I'm like, that's
there it is.
All right. Well, I want to thank you two again for hopping on and helping us out with our first few episodes and looking directly at that camera. Thank you for tuning in once again, and we will see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed the chat. If you would like to learn more about our guest and the music featured in this episode, check out the links in the episode description. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. If you would like to feature your work or music on the podcast, feel free to contact us. Links available in the episode description. Thanks again for listening, and we hope you have a great day.